welcome to episode 5 of Anime and Us. I'm TJ.
And I'm Shawn.
And this is the review show that reviews anime from A to Z. Sort of.
So last episode of Anime and Us, we spun the wheel for category C, which gave us Chivalry of a Failed Knight. The series was written by Riku Misora, illustrated by Juan. The first volume was released on July 15, 2013. The anime adaptation aired from October 3rd to December 19th, 2015.
Alrighty. So, let's get this right out of the way. This was not good.
Yeah, I mean, it really wasn't good. Definitely below 5 out of 10. We'll get to that at the end. But when you compare it to all the other generic anime out there, which you don't really know too much about,
No.
I do, it was a little bit better than the generic anime that's out there, but that doesn't mean by any means that it's good.
Well, I do want to talk about something interesting that I found. Well, obviously it's bad, and it's been well received in Japan and stuff. So.
It's just so odd. It's bad on almost every marker. There's one or two good things that I can speak to, but typically speaking, it's rather terrible.
But what I found is, do you know who the publisher of this is?
Who?
Square Enix.
Oh man, that's probably why it's visually pleasing. It looks very nice.
So, I mean, I was really surprised. I didn't even know they made mangas, but apparently they have a whole manga division.
I didn't know that.
So, yeah, they publish it. So, I mean, no wonder why some of it's so good, because of basically...
It looks pretty. I mean, that's one of the only strong points that it has. Probably the only strong point is that it is very visually pleasing.
Yes,
it looks nice to watch.
It definitely is. But
especially the steamy scenes. Anyway.
Okay, we'll get into the fan service of this show, but that's one of the things that really makes me mad about this, though, is that the premise really has some good potential.
Right.
So
I was thinking the same.
So if it had, I want to say a decent writer, but I'll say like a competent writer.
Yeah. Some of the backstories are nice. I like them. Some of them are common tropes.
Honestly, if they would have got a better writing team, fleshed out the world a little more, and even extended it a few episodes and finished out the story,
yes,
then this could have been really, really good.
Yeah, it could have.
And that's what really makes me mad, worse than even the other stuff that we'll get into, but that's what really, the potential of this is just a shame that it didn't become what it should be.
Yeah, it could have been something great. Instead of a 2 or a 3 out of 10, it could have been, I don't know, an 8 or a 9.
But, I mean... the dialogue in this, oh my god.
Yeah, that's another thing. So the writers, they could have cut out 80 to 90% of the jokes and the dialogue. Well, and then put actual good dialogue in there. Because some of it's not bad. Some of it's funny.
Right. Some of it is funny. And I'm just the dialogue in general. But 90% of the dialogue is exposition.
Yeah.
So they're explaining that. Like, the most glaring scene is, like, one of the last few episodes where the main character's sister is fighting the student council president.
Yes.
And they're in the middle of a fight, and they cut away to the stands, and they have a 10-minute conversation about what they're doing and not showing the fight at all. And it's just like...
that's a common anime trope for very generic animes.
But
common.
It was like, show us what's going on.
Yes.
We don't need to hear what you're talking about, because there's all kinds of cool things happening over here, but no, we're stuck here.
It's not the main character. They got to pan back. Yeah, it's pretty common. And it's terrible.
Yeah.
Alright, so let's do the premise real quick.
Alright, go ahead.
The story is set in an alternate world where humans called blazers have supernatural abilities. These blazers can materialize weapons known as a device, which are made through a person's soul. At the academy that they all attend, which is high school, which is all, what all anime do. Their high school is where they learn everything.
Wow.
The representatives, blazers, are selected as representatives for the 7-Star World Art Festival. Our main character, Iki, whatever. Kuragame. In order for him to graduate and become a blazer, to become a knight, a mage knight. In order for him, the only way he can do that is by winning that sword art festival.
Yeah, which
most other people just graduate high school and they're fine.
Yeah, through convoluted means that he's the worst knight in there when he's actually the best knight.
The reason for that is he has a family. Their family is very prominent in this kind of thing. There's a whole stat board. He's only strong in one end of the stats.
Right.
So he's a failed knight. He can never succeed because he can't do anything else but except for the one area, which is materialize a great weapon.
Yeah, because everyone else has like magical powers.
Yeah.
It's like fire,
ice and lightning, whatever.
Stuff, and he just has a sword. But he does have a magical power. He can
hard work. He can speed his body up and move really fast.
Yeah, and he can block out different things and pretty much reading.
That is, I think that's supposed to be like his natural ability as a swordsman.
The reading copy of
yes,
people's
I think that's what that was supposed to be.
I took that as like that's a power that
it definitely looks like a power, acts like a power, but the way they describe him, it can't be.
I get that.
Because the only thing you can do is make the sword.
Well, his family and his whole family's keeping him down for stupid reasons.
Because he's apparently a failed knight that he'll never succeed. So he's a piece of junk.
He's only a failed knight because they wouldn't let him take classes and stuff.
Well, because they wouldn't let him take classes, but also because he has no potential. No matter how many classes he takes, the other stats will never grow.
The dad even says in like the last episode that it's not that he didn't care about him. He's just, because he's not supposed to help him out, he didn't want him to try at anything.
Yeah, mediocre.
Yeah, just stay mediocre. Stay in your place. Be a rich,
which does work a little bit to Japan's culture. Now, it's been changing in recent decades, but typically speaking, they have a hierarchy, and you stay there. You do not move.
I get that.
So it does speak a little bit to their culture.
I get that, but all I'm saying is that this guy is the most powerful person there is. He shouldn't be a failed knight.
Yeah, it doesn't make much sense when he's as strong as he is and he can win fight after fight after fight.
Right. But let's be honest here. The fight and the graduation's not the main story.
No, it's by and large a romance.
Yeah. And, the fans...
It's not even a terrible romance, if I'm being honest. I mean, it is terrible, but as far as... Now, again, you don't watch as much any anime as I do. Most anime, the romance never goes anywhere. Right? So, like, there's one of two things that'll happen. One is they will completely ignore it until the last episode, and then they'll confess. Mm-hmm. Or two, they'll just ignore it completely, and nothing will ever happen.
I got you.
So, but in this one's different. They start dating within the first 2 or 3 episodes, I believe, something like that.
Right.
And then at the last episode, they get...
married.
Well, they propose, and she says yes, so they're engaged.
I'm not gonna...
Which is more than any other anime typically ever does. I'd say more than 99% of them.
I'm not gonna sit here and knock the romance. I don't even have that...
Well, the romance is pretty terrible. The way it progresses and everything isn't great.
But
it happens.
But it didn't make me mad like, say, Blue Gender did.
Yeah.
So it was innocuous to me. What got me in the romance department was the blatant fan service.
That's...
Like
appealing to the audience.
Within the first 2 minutes,
oh my god,
the second protagonist, the girlfriend, Stella Vermillion, who is a princess from another country.
Another common trope. I could have done without that. She could have just been a no-name. That would have been better.
Well, whatever the case, I don't know the trope, so that didn't even inquire me. So I was just stating facts here. But within the first 2 minutes, she's in her underwear, and he walks in. It's big misunderstanding and stuff like that.
Which they don't explain for like 5 or 6 minutes.
For no reason. They're supposed to be roommates.
She's like, you walked into my room, and he just doesn't explain that that's also my room for like 5 or 6 minutes.
I mean, they don't know that they're roommates, but it's very weird.
And they sort of play it off as that's just what we do here. There's 2 genders, rooms throughout the school.
Right. I mean,
bullshit, by the way. It's a high school. They're like 14 or 15.
Whatever. I mean, it's convoluted, but whatever. And then it gets even weirder with the romance when they introduce the love triangle with the incestual little sister.
The first episode she was introduced was the worst, and it calmed down after that. But oh my god.
So yeah, he has the main character has a little sister named Shizuku Kuragame. And she's like in love with him, and they
do explain it a little bit, but it's still not good. You could never in a good way explain incest. You just can't.
Not even that. The reason they give is because the rest of the family hates him so much. She said she's gonna love him more than everybody else. They can even still go with that storyline.
You know what you do? You give him a hug. That's what you do.
But you know what you could even do? You can even still keep that storyline and cut the ancestral stuff out and still
That's what I'm
the same
saying.
Story.
You just give him a hug. You don't need to try to sleep with him.
Yeah, so it was just really, really, really strange to me.
Throughout the story, she calms down and eventually sort of acknowledges Stella a bit.
But she's still in love with him.
Yeah.
Even towards the end, she just kind of gives up and says, I guess he's not going to choose me. Of course he's not going to choose you. You're like 12. Mm-hmm. Which, there's a scene in the later episodes where the 12-year-old is naked when they show you it.
Yep.
So, it's... I mean,
they don't technically... They blur out any nipples or, anything like that.
Not in my version.
No, they definitely they don't show it.
I mean, there's at least ass in it.
Well, ass doesn't count as nudity.
Okay.
Vagina and nipples nudity. I'm sorry.
I'm pretty-
little R-rated there, a little awkward, but that is what nudity is. Ass is not nudity.
Okay.
They don't technically show it.
I thought
but
I
they
saw it,
show, I'd say 99% of the body.
Yeah, I mean, it's whatever the nudity scale is. It was
Technically, it doesn't count. You could technically show that on daytime television,
I was gonna.
but no parent would ever want their children to watch
I was just wiping it off as Japan culture anyway.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But
Again, the wanting to be with your bigger brother is a huge common trope in anime.
It's just
gross and weird, and it needs that stop.
Yeah, but like other than those two big problems with it, I didn't really have a problem with the romance. It was just
yeah. I mean,
it was just there for me.
Yeah.
I mean, so
the romance was okay for like the last episode. Throughout the first 11 episodes, it was meh.
Oh, the last two episodes. I want to ask you about Japanese law here.
Oh right, you wanted to ask that. Well, what's going on?
So, in the 9th episode, he gets arrested.
He gets detained.
By a ethics board.
Yeah. As far as I know, that none of that's real. But who knows? You know what I mean?
But he was pretty much treated like a prisoner.
Well, I mean, it's Japan.
So
this isn't America. I'm sorry, this is going to get a little political here, but they're not as free as we are.
I'm just that's why I'm asking about Japanese law. So
can things like that happen? Sure. Does it happen often? Probably not.
So they do arrest people for.
I'm not saying that they do it. I'm saying that they can because they don't have freedoms protected like we do.
They essentially arrested him in the show because he was dating the princess.
Yeah,
that was it. There was.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. But could something like that happen? Probably. Would it happen? Probably not.
It was just I didn't understand why he was being arrested. Why they couldn't let him out? Why?
It's set in an alternate world. Like I said, that probably wouldn't happen. But again, it's not like America where you have these protected freedoms where you can't do things like that.
It just threw me off the whole last two episodes. Him being detained for no reason, and then to switch to the grainy film style.
Yeah, that was, although pleasant. Why?
Yeah, I was.
It's such an odd thing to do out of nowhere.
It just threw me off throughout a lot of it, and I was so confused. So I explained about the fights and the getting into the tournament and stuff like that. So you explain it. Why I look up names?
Why you look up names?
Yeah.
I don't know. Why do you look up names?
No. Why I look at the names to know what's coming up. Explain the tournament stuff.
What about the tournament stuff?
Like, why are they doing all this?
Oh, I already did because it's a tournament, and that tournaments are tournaments, and the only way for him to become a knight is by winning the tournament. Yeah,
but in order to get to the tournament, he has to fight through.
I mean, you have to be selected for the tournament.
Right.
Now, you don't have to win the mini tournament that they're having in their school. They sort of say that as you're going. But if you want to be in, you have to win. Like, if you want to be guaranteed to go into the 7-star tournament, you have to win this.
But I thought they only chose all undefeated people at the end.
You know what? I think that is true. I think you're all right on that. But in one of the mid-episodes, they do talk about how if he wants a guaranteed spot, he has to win it. So maybe if you do extremely well, you could still get in somehow. They do a fairly poor job of explaining that.
Because there's other characters like this. Toka Tode is the president of the student council, and I actually liked her character.
Yeah, she was decent.
Honestly, she was not sexualized or anything. She was just this badass.
I mean, extreme tiny amount, but yes, you see her panties a couple times. But again, yeah, you're right. As far as everyone else is being sexualized,
I was like Japan, so that was just nothing to me. But there was no fan service really with her at all, and she was just a badass warrior,
lightning swordsman that just kicked ass.
But she had a fight with the Iki at the end in the last episode and went down on one strike. But that wasn't really even a fight because So I don't. It's like if they were chosen, I'd still think she'd get in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like I said, they did a really poor job of explaining that. They definitely said that he wanted a guaranteed spot, so he needed to win it.
Right.
Which heavily implies that you can still get in without winning it.
Right. I mean, I understood his thing was he's a found knight, he had to do it and stuff like that, blah, blah, blah.
It doesn't make sense that she didn't get in.
Right, it doesn't.
She was undefeated until that last fight. She still should have got in.
And she
was second place in the last tournament, I believe.
Yeah, and she fought what kind of...
You think she'd be seated.
Yeah, she fought with honor in that last fight, apparently. Mm-hmm. So, it was this whole thing was just strange.
There's a whole bunch of loose ends that just don't make sense.
I was mad.
Some of the jokes were pretty funny.
Right, and
I caught myself laughing out loud once or twice.
Me too. But I just want to go back to the ending a little bit here. I was a little mad that how it open-ended too, but...
Well, I mean, as same with Excel World, there's many more. There's much more to the
that's
late novels.
That's what I was going to get
There were supposed to be more. I did a tiny bit of research. They haven't announced anything, but they have the rights, the anime studio, so they can make
That's what I was going to say. So when I learned it was made recently, I was like, oh, maybe they're going to do another series. So I kind of let it go. But
if they did, I wouldn't choose to watch it.
No.
But for the sake of reviewing, I would, and I wouldn't mind it too much.
Right.
I would like to see where the story goes.
Because he gets into the 7-star tournament, and that's it. That's where it ends.
Yeah, it ends with him winning against the student council president, the Lightning Warrior, and that's it. That's it. He gets chosen to go. And
outside, there's one of the guys that he fought earlier, I guess, who grew to respect and stuff. There was that whole subplot with the Atsuki? The famous swordsman's daughter.
Yes.
Who lost her dojo to this guy.
Yeah, there was a subplot in the middle of the season. That's another common thing. There's usually one overarching plot and then one subplot in anime. At least 12 episodes.
And she wasn't that bad either, because up until that point when they introduced her, all the girls were throwing themselves at the main character.
Yeah, and she didn't, which was something.
Yeah, which was different. And which was really weird, because what I don't understand is, he's been at that school for how long?
So he went there for 1 year, and he wasn't allowed to attend classes because the current principal was under the influence of his family.
Okay.
So that principal changes. Second year, the new principal comes in. Forget her name, doesn't matter. She's more of a badass. She's always got a cigarette, which doesn't make sense. Why is she smoking at school? Anyway, she's more of a badass. She'll stand up to Iku's whatever, Iki's family. So she now lets him attend classes. So now he can fight.
But from what I understand is in the previous year, everyone treated him like crap, though, right?
Yeah, for sure. Most of them still treated him like crap. But now he can show his fighting ability.
All I'm saying is that he got popular real quick.
Well, it's his fighting ability.
And, I mean, like, 4th episode, he's got a whole class of people.
He's starting to teach swordsman lessons.
Yeah, so it was just kind of like, okay.
A bit of a 180, but, bit of a common thing.
Yeah, I think another thing I would have liked better is if he was really a failed knight, and that he had to overcome the fact that he was weak, and then work his way up, and then, work his way over his weaknesses and stuff like that, instead of just being this all-powerful...
Yeah, he shouldn't have been all-powerful from the get-go. It really shouldn't have been a thing. He should have... The entire show should have been him barely winning matches.
Right.
And then getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And in a sense, he did barely win matches, but he barely won them by a landslide.
Yeah, it was really...
He'd always, at the end of the match, fall over, but he always won very clearly.
Yeah, I mean, it was like... It almost felt like he was waiting for that end of the match. Because, no, he was waiting for the end of the match because he was watching the fight the whole time. He let himself get his ass kicked the entire fight so he could figure out how to beat them.
Yes.
And it just felt... He felt overpowered.
He was definitely overpowered, and it was the same... Except for the last fight, it was the same way he beat everybody.
Right.
And it was just tiring.
And in the last fight, it would have probably ended up the same way if it wasn't the convoluted...
For him being tired, from them not transporting him from the... quasi-prison to the fighting grounds. So they didn't transport him, so he had to walk, apparently days, because he's exhausted. Had no money, apparently. Couldn't get on a bus.
Apparently.
I don't get it. It's a whole lot of loose ends that don't make sense.
It's very convoluted and very poorly
So he shows up at the last fight, and this is the only fight that's any different than any of the other ones.
Yeah.
And he's tired, he's exhausted, so he activates his ability where he can move real fast, instantly, one strike win.
It's televised all over the world, apparently.
Yeah.
So
again, doesn't make much sense.
And it comes down to one strike. They both decide to do one strike, and even the student council president who's fighting says, "If I dodge, I win this fight." But no, I have to fight.
Dodge because he took his ability that usually lasts for 1 minute, making him really fast, and he compressed it into 1 second, which I guess made him super fast.
So honorably, she decides, "No, I'll take him head on," and she, of course, she loses.
Yeah, of course.
So I don't know.
Overall, it was pretty terrible.
Yeah, I want to get into another character real quick. Nagi Orasune, the sister's roommate.
The sister's roommate.
The
gay dude.
The gay dude.
Yeah, he was weird. He even referred to himself as a sister or a woman a couple times.
I just wanted to point out how blatantly gay.
Yeah, they didn't even try to disguise that at all.
So,
he 100% owned the character. So to their credit, they weren't dancing around the issue.
But that's all his character really was.
Yes, again,
that's what
make the characters multidimensional.
That's how I just wanted to throw how bad the writing is. Another point in how bad the writing is, because
there could have been more to him than
all
that.
the characters are pretty much one note too. So there's and that's what this whole thing comes down to. There's no depth to it.
There's absolutely no depth. Again, it's a common thing with the mediocre animes. There's zero depth. It's I would be okay with watching a second season do it for the sake of reviewing it, only because of the fighting and the story of him becoming a knight. That was okay.
Yeah. The
writing was terrible, but the core story was okay.
I also have a completionist problem. So finishing stuff, I would be like, yeah, I do it just because now I kind of need to know.
Another thing, and this wasn't in the anime, the 12-episode anime, but a little bit of research. Apparently, him and the main character and his love interest, what's her name? Stella. Apparently, they end up sleeping together and everything. Now, I mean,
hold on.
They don't show it too much.
I kind of thought that's what they implied that was happening in the show. I just assumed that's what was happening.
Well, she wanted to sleep with him for the first time at...
after they went through all the should we do this parts, I just assumed it happened.
Well, there's a point in the show, probably like episode 8 or 9, when they're at this... she's got a fever, right? And they're in this cabin.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, no, I want to proudly say that I love you to everybody before we do this.
Right,
so
right.
that heavily implies that they didn't have sex until then.
Oh, you're right. No, you're right. You know what it was? Before that happened, I assumed it had already.
Yeah, I got you. I assumed it had happened already, too, but apparently not.
Well,
what I was getting at is, again, to the romance, how this mediocre anime sets it apart from every other romance is that they actually progress things. So in the manga, they eventually get to the point where they do have sex, and it's not a hentai, it is an anime, so they don't really show it, but it happens. And that progression does not happen in other animes.
Speaking of that, I got the feeling that they kind of wanted to write a hentai, but weren't allowed to do it.
That's, again, very common.
So it felt like it was just like, they won't let us write a hentai, so we're going to do everything we can to put it in there.
The fan service keeps the kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So, but no, we have to do an anime. That's what it felt like to me. But I don't know.
Definitely felt like that for sure.
My experience is limited when it comes to.
No, you hit the nail on the head.
All right, so I guess we are.
Well, I'm going to give it a 2.5 out of 10. It was pretty terrible. There were some good points, but not enough. It was overwhelmingly overshadowed by every single bad point.
All right, so what's our worst rating that we can give?
I would say a 1.
1
is the worst.
So 801 TTS Airbus is a 1.
Oh, for sure. If we gave it a different rating in the actual podcast, it's actually a 1. Maybe a negative 1.
We had 2 different reviews standards at that time. I just said it was really the worst thing I've ever saw in my life, essentially. So that's a 1. So if that's a 1,
this was better.
So what did we say? Excel World was like a 4 or 5?
I think I said 5 or 6. I think you said 4 or 5.
Yeah, so I have to go. This is a 3.
A 3? All right. I mean, that's pretty similar.
Yeah. So I mean, because it was not as bad as 801 TTS Airbat.
Oh yeah, definitely not.
So
I didn't mind watching it probably about half the time.
And it wasn't just barely better either. It wasn't like a 2. So it was substantially better.
It was substantially better, but it's still terrible.
But it's still terrible. That's why I landed at a 3.
All right, so for next episode, let's spin the category D. Let's see what we get.
All right, let's see what we got.
Oh, please be something good. Not Convenience Store Boys or something.
Well, that's not a D.
I know. There was something similar in the list when I made it up.
Oh.
Come on. You can do it, Wheel. Why is it spinning slow lately?
I think there's too many options on there.
That might be it. Come on. Yeah, there we go. Divergence Eve. No idea what that is.
Me neither. I guess we'll find out.
Next episode, we'll review Divergence Eve.
All right, yeah. All right, no stupid radio outro this time.
TJ and Shawn signing off.
That's what I thought. Whatever.